So, hello there, and welcome back to yet another Night of the Movies podcast. And in these podcasts, I talk all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, surprise, surprise, I'm reviewing Loki Season 2. But just before I do that, I should say what I say at the start of every podcast I do, which is, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello to my viewers. But if you prefer to listen to your podcasts on Spotify, well, you're in luck, as you can also listen to this podcast on Spotify at Night of the Movies on that platform. And if you are already listening to this podcast on Spotify, hello there to podcast listeners, then you can also check this podcast out visually on my YouTube channel at Night of the Movies on that platform as well. Likewise, wherever you may be watching or listening to this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the podcast, of course, and leave me with some feedback on things to improve on in future podcasts, because there's always things to improve on, and feedback is, as ever, much appreciated. So, let's get into it, shall we? Loki Season 2. So people may be watching or listening to this podcast today and saying, wait, didn't you say you were giving up with Marvel after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? And you'd be correct in thinking that, because I'm pretty sure, and I don't remember for certain, but I'm pretty sure I titled my last podcast that I did on Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because I did two podcasts on that. I did a spoiler review and a non-spoiler review, and I'm pretty sure I titled on my last podcast, Why Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the End of Marvel for Me. I'm pretty sure that's what I titled it, something around those lines. And then you may be asking then, why am I here right now reviewing something that's Marvel though, after Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I said was the end of Marvel for me? And the truth is, I lied. Well, I did and I didn't. I didn't totally lie. I've still got no interest in Marvel movies going forward whatsoever, unless I hear some absolutely amazing things about Marvel movies and people saying they're one of the best films of the year in the years or whatever they come out over the next couple of years. If I hear people raving about them, I will go and watch them in the cinema. Other than that, though, I have virtually, little to no interest in any more Marvel movies going forward. I've got a little bit, I've got a little bit of interest in Deadpool 3, because I'm a fan of the X-Men movies and I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I thought Logan was great. So I'm a bit interested in Deadpool 3. Other than that, little to no interest in any Marvel movies going forward. And I feel the same about Marvel TV shows for the most part. But the thing is about Loki, the reason I watched Loki Season 2 is because I liked Loki Season 1. I actually thought it was the best Marvel Disney Plus show we had so far. By the time that it came out, I still think it is the best Marvel Disney Plus show we've had so far, Loki Season 1. I remember watching it and really enjoying it. And even though it did have its flaws, I'm not going to sit here and say it didn't, I really liked what it was doing. I liked how it approached also with time travel and multiverse in the MCU, something I don't think the MCU has done particularly well since, with the likes of Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness and the god-awful film, which was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I don't think multiverse has been done well since Loki Season 1, and I liked how Loki Season 1 dealt with all these ideas with multiverse and time travel, and I also really liked how it embraced its identity. It was a wacky, it was a silly show, and it embraced all that, and it had a bit of a Doctor Who feel to it, and I'm a huge fan of the David Tennant and a bit of the Matt Smith era of Doctor Who. I liked Matt Smith's first era of Doctor Who, but then I think it kind of went downhill after that. But so, nonetheless, you get the point I'm making. I liked Loki Season 1. And even though I wasn't highly anticipating Loki Season 2 once Loki Season 1 had ended, I was still interested in it because I wanted to see how this story was going to end. But also, I ended up watching the show because people I follow online and people around me, people who live in the same house as me, said that Loki Season 2 was great. I didn't start watching it when it started airing a couple of months ago now. I waited a little bit to hear what people were saying about the show, because if I heard it was awful, I just wouldn't have checked it out. But I heard people saying it was great. I heard people saying it was one of the best Marvel Disney Plus shows we've had so far, and it's really elevating what season 1 did. And I heard that from people I follow online and people, as what he said, who live in the same house as me. So I thought to myself, let's give Loki Season 2 a go. Let's see if it is worth a watch. Let's see if it is as good as some people are saying, or let's see if it can be another one of those Marvel things that everybody really likes and I end up being disappointed by. And here are my thoughts on Loki Season 2. I really liked this show, and I'm so happy to say that. And the reason I really liked it is because, in my opinion, it's a genuinely good TV series with and without all the superhero Marvel stuff. You can put in that, or you can put all the Marvel and superhero stuff in there, and the show still works, but it also stands on its own 2 feet. You know, you don't have to associate the show with Marvel. If you want to, you can sit there and watch the show and just like it as a show about multiverse and time travel. You know, not everything multiverse has to be connected to Marvel. Just last year, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which won Best Picture at the Academy Awards, you know, that was a film about multiverse, had no connection to Marvel whatsoever, and it was better for it. It was a far better film than Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or as I like to call it, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Meandering. You know, it's a far better film than that, and that's one of the reasons I liked Loki, because it didn't have all of these big Marvel connections. It stood on its own 2 feet, and it was just a good show about time travel, about multiverse, about Loki himself, and it really did a good job developing the character of Loki and developing all the other characters in the show, like Mobius and Kaya Kwan's character and Gugu Mbatha Raw's character. Apologies for mispronouncing her name. It's just a really good show, and I'm so happy to say that, because I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I'm being completely honest here when I say I hate, and I mean hate, to do podcasts or reviews or whatnot, talking about my hatred of Marvel movies. I don't like doing that. I don't like coming on this channel and going, well, this Marvel movie or this Marvel TV show didn't work for me. I don't like doing that. And so when a Marvel property, whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or whether it's Loki Season 2 in this aspect, in this matter, whether it's either of them two, when they surprise me, I just feel so happy, because for the most part, I feel down about Marvel. I know everybody else seems to love it, although I know it's been a bit on and off for some people recently as well. But I know in the past, everyone seemed to love it, but I just haven't. And yet here, I was like, oh, is it going to be another one of those shows which everybody's loving and I'm not going to love? And then I watched it, and it was great. I was surprised by how much I really liked it. And I'm so happy that I did, because it's so nice to be surprised by something that you've been let down a lot by recently. It's so nice to have that. I can't tell you how nice it feels for me right now to be sitting here doing this podcast. I've even shaking a little bit. It's so nice to be able to say this and go, yeah, Loki Season 2 is actually awesome. You know, it's got some really well-developed characters. I love what it does with the character of Loki. It's a well-structured show. It's well-written. It's well-directed. You know, the first season was well-directed by Kate Herron. And by the way, she's going on to do she's apparently directing a couple of episodes of the next season of Doctor Who, which I find funny, because I always kind of saw Loki as Marvel's version of Doctor Who, the Loki TV show that is, and now the director of the first season of Loki has gone on to direct Doctor Who. So it's a bit funny that, but she did a great job in season 1. I'm not dissing her whatsoever. She did a really good job, but I think the directors with season 2 did an even better job. I've got their names up here right now on IMDb. So you have Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, Dan DeLuo, Kasha Farana. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing those names. But yeah, they all did a really great job with the directing, because the directing with Loki is some of the best directing I have seen in a TV show of the past year. period. I don't think this is one of the best TV shows of the past year overall, I'm not saying that, but I think the directing is really, really good. It's really engaging, and the framing and the way the camera moves in certain episodes. I am so surprised I'm saying this about a Marvel Disney Plus show, but I'm so happy that I am. You know, I was watching the directing going, wow, this is actually a really well-made series. It's well-produced and it's well-directed. And at the same time, not only is the directing good, you also have a great musical score by Natalie Holt in this series. You know, she did a really good job composing the musical score for Loki Season 1, and she continues to do a good job here. The score elevates so many scenes and adds emotion in moments where it's needed. It's not used too much, and at the same time, when it is used, it works so well, and the comedy feels natural. That is so great to say for a Marvel thing. Film or TV, you know, I've just realised the sun's shining on me, so I'm going to close the curtain. It's so nice to say for something Marvel, because so many times when I've watched Marvel things in the past, the comedy has just felt out of place. It felt like it's just there for the sake of being there, and it's felt cringeworthy. It hasn't really worked. The comedy in Loki feels natural, and it works. It fits in with what's going on, and none of it feels out of place. None of the comedy in this series, overall, really, felt out of place, and I found the comedy funny. I found comedy in Marvel funny. I find the Guardians of the Galaxy films funny, sure, but that's a different type of hero. That's James Gunn. James Gunn doesn't have any involvement in the show whatsoever. So it was nice to find something funny in the MCU that wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy. And I liked how this series also had those Doctor Who similarities. You know, the last episode actually reminded me a lot of one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever, which was in the Peter Capaldi era. And although I wasn't the biggest fan of Peter Capaldi as a Doctor, and I wasn't the biggest fan of his era, there was one episode, I think it's called Heaven Sent, which is remarkably good. It's a fantastic episode of TV in general. It's really, really well done. And the last episode of Loki Season 2 reminded me of that episode in some parts. If you've seen both Heaven Sent and Doctor Who and the last episode of Loki Season 2, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, I love how this series has all the Doctor Who similarities, and I'm somebody who loves sci-fi. I like all the time travel stuff. When it's done well, I think time travel can actually be a really good idea, and I think it is done well here, and I think all the stuff with multiverse actually works. It's not too much in your face where it's annoying you like it was in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Meandering, and it isn't also just there for the sake of being there, like it felt like it was in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where it just didn't work. And on the topic of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, you had Jonathan Majors as Kang in that film, and I thought he was good as Kang, although he was defeated by Ant-Man in that film. I mean, let's just let that sink in a sec, shall we? Kang, the new apparent big bad of the MCU, was defeated by Ant-Man in his first appearance. Well, his kind of first appearance, but his first appearance in a big Marvel movie. And after that, I had virtually no interest in the Kang character because he was defeated by Ant-Man. Then, Jonathan Majors pops up as a variant of Kang, Victor Timely, I think that's what their variant's called, in this season of Loki, and he gets me more interested in that character. Not just him, not just Jonathan Majors' performance alone, but also through the writing. And controversy aside here, I know Jonathan Majors is in a bit of hot water right now, and I'm not going to comment on that because there's nothing really to say yet, because nothing's been determined about what's going on with him in his personal life. But controversy aside, he is a very good actor. He was great in Creed 3, and he was actually the best part of Quantumania, and he is so good in this series. His performance, I didn't know if it would work for me at first with his stutter, but it did work for me, and his performance as Victor Timely, works really, really well, and the way the character's written has got me more interested in that character going forward, even though I've got little to no interest in the MCU going forward. the way that character is written, the way Jonathan Majors plays Victor Timely, a Kang variant in this series, works so well. And I love how this series develops all these other characters as well, all the other side characters. Like, I love how we learn more about Mobius, Owen Wilson's character. I love how we see him ride a jet ski. That's not a spoiler, it was revealed in one of the trailers. And it's not anything plot-wise, but still, it was something in Loki Season 1, which was kind of set up, actually. No, it is something to do with the plot. It is kind of a spoiler. There was something in Season 1 of Loki about him riding a jet ski, from what I remember, and in this season, you sort of see that happen. You don't see him ride a jet ski on the water, but I like the way that was done, and I love how you get to see what these characters were like before they had to go and work at the TVA. I love how you see what these characters are like in a different life. And I really like what they did with Sylvie in this series. I know not everyone's big on Sylvie. I actually really enjoy Sylvie. Played by Sophia Di Martino. Apologies for mispronouncing her name there. But yeah, I think she does a really great job. I really like what Gugu Mbatha-Raw was doing as Renslayer, and the addition of Ke-Huy Quan, can we point out, Academy Award winner Ke-Huy Quan, who played Short Round in one of my favourite films ever, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It was also Data and the Goonies, and it was just also recently in Everything Everywhere All at Once last year. Another thing that was about multiverse, not too dissimilar than Loki, and his addition in this series works perfectly. He adds this energy and this childish excitement into the series, which just fits in so well, because that's what we're like as viewers whilst watching it. He is basically playing the role of the viewer. That's what I felt. He was playing the role of the viewer, the people behind the TV, watching the TV whilst watching the show, if you get what I mean. He just has this childish excitement to him, which is so endearing and so good to watch. I love Ke-Huy Quan. I love him. I didn't love Everything Everywhere All at Once, but he was so good in there. Love him as Short Round. He was great as Dave from the Goonies, and he's so good in this. I really hope we see loads more of him going forward. I hope we see loads more of him, in big franchises. I'd love to see him in a Star Wars property, TV show or film. I'd love to see him in something Star Wars. Whether that'll happen, I don't know. But still, the point I'm making is I think Ke-Huy Quan was a fantastic new addition to Loki Season 2. And I love as well, and this is a big thing, but I love how this series used real sets. There is CGI used in this series, sure, but there's not as much CGI as I thought there would be. It was nice to see real sets in something that was the MCU. It was nice to see real sets actually used, and I liked that a lot more because it made the TVA, although it's quite a wacky idea, the time variance authority, although it's something which you don't totally buy into, the sets make you buy into it, and I just love the set design. It's not anything big, but at the same time, though, for me it is, because I can't tell you how many Marvel things, not just Marvel things actually, superhero properties in general, where they've overused CGI. And yes, they've used CGI in the series, but they haven't overused it. And that was another thing I really liked about Loki. And I just think, I think it is the best Marvel Disney Plus show we've had. I really think it is. The reason being is because it was genuinely good TV, and it committed to its idea, and it was well structured, it was well written. That's something I can't say about the other Marvel Disney Plus shows. WandaVision was good, wasn't it? It was good at the start until the filmmakers clearly were a bit worried about what they were doing and whether the audience will feel unengaged after a couple episodes. So what they do in WandaVision, 3 episodes or 4 episodes in, is cut back the curtain and go, we need to add all this Marvel stuff in to please the Marvel fans. And then you get to the last episode of WandaVision, and it's severely disappointing. You're sat there so emotionally drained from disappointment. At least I was. WandaVision was so disappointing. It had an interesting premise, but it didn't commit to that enough, and they just threw in all this MCU stuff in order to please fans. It was like they got worried with the idea they were doing. And then you get to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was just forgettable. It didn't really come together from what I remember. And the fact that I don't remember much about it, I remember there was a fight on a truck at one point, and there was some bad CGI in the background. Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I remember saying it was okay at the time when I viewed it, but no. Looking back in it was not good. Hawkeye, I honestly barely remember anything about. It was lazy and forgettable. Again, not too dissimilar than Falcon and Winter Soldier, where I watched it and I cannot tell you really anything about it other than I think there was a fight with, what's his name? Kingpin in a toy store. Yeah, that's all I literally remember from that, which it wasn't even a good thing I remember from it as well. She-Hulk was an unfunny comedy that felt too episodic. I don't mind if these shows feel episodic. I really don't. But that show felt too episodic. It didn't feel like it had a narrative thrust and a through line going throughout all, however many episodes, was it 8 episodes of that series, and the CGI was poor there, and I can bet you now that if She-Hulk was not an MCU show, people would have given up on it far earlier than they did. People would have not watched past episode 2 or 3 of that show. But the fact that it was MCU made people go, actually, I'm going to keep watching this. But She-Hulk was not good. Had some small positives, sure. But it was not... It was terrible. It was not good at all. Then Miss Marvel, and actually I don't mind Miss Marvel. I thought it was okay, but the problem with Miss Marvel was it introduced all of this great stuff with the family dynamic and what was it, Kamala Khan, brilliantly played by Amanda Villani in that series. You know, I had all this stuff with her getting these bracelets and her, you know, trying to do these powers with her friends and with her family, and that stuff was interesting. But then halfway through that series, it introduced all this stuff with parallel universes and all this stuff with Kamala Khan's past or her heritage. And I'm watching this going, why are you doing that? Just tell this story about Miss Marvel. Just tell this story about Kamala Khan becoming Miss Marvel and dealing with her powers and with her family and with her friends at the same time. It just became overly convoluted. And again, it had its moments. I don't think it's a bad show, that, but it was not nearly as good as it could have been. And then there was Moon Knight. Moon Knight started off well. Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke were great in that show. And again, some very interesting ideas, not too dissimilar to Miss Marvel, but in terms of ideas, in terms of how good they were. But the thing is, again, not too dissimilar to Miss Marvel, they started off well, and then they add in all this other stuff to do with all these Egyptian gods and everything like that, and they say it's all part of the lore of Moon Knight, and there's all this stuff with Moon Knight being in this mental hospital, and it might be in his mind or not. I didn't really get what was going on, and they didn't explain it, and the finale, the last episode to Moon Knight, was severely disappointing. Again, not too dissimilar than WandaVision. There seems to be a theme with a lot of the finales in these shows, and I'll go on to the finale, my thoughts on the finale of Loki Season 2 very shortly, but yeah, Moon Knight did not work, and I didn't even watch Secret Invasion. I didn't care about it, because I didn't really like the trailers, and then I heard loads of people saying it was one of the worst things Marvel's ever done, and so, guess what? I didn't even watch it. But the thing is, though, the reason Loki triumphs over all of them is because it's a good show that is well structured and delivers. It delivers on its finale. Unlike Moon Knight did, this show delivered on its finale. It had this grand finale where it was going all out. It was emotional, it was funny, it was thrilling, and it was exciting. And you found it compelling, you found it engaging. At least I did. That's how I felt about the end to Loki Season 2. So good. And I haven't felt like that about any of the finales to any of the Marvel Disney Plus shows. And it committed to its idea. It didn't go and jump off, go and do something else for a couple episodes. No, it committed to its idea, and it kept the same characters, and you follow those characters from the start of Season 1 to the end of Season 2, and it gave you great character development with all those characters. And it really explored those characters as well. Even Miss Minutes, this AI clock, there is far more depth to her than really anyone in She-Hulk, which is so which is something I never expected to say. You know, the point I'm making, the reason I brought up all those other Marvel Disney Plus shows, is to show you my feelings on those shows, to tell you my feelings, and to tell you why I thought that Loki Season 2 was the best of them all, because it was a genuinely good TV show. You can take the Marvel stuff out of it, you can put the Marvel stuff back in, it's still really good. It's got storylines which are complex, but it's still easy to understand, and it's compelling, it's engaging, and it's really, really, really well done. I am so happy that I liked it, because I didn't know whether I would. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's one of the best TV shows of 2023. I'm not saying that. It's got a couple of problems. I didn't love episodes 2 and 3. There were parts of those episodes which I liked, and I still found them fun and enjoyable to watch. I just didn't love them overall. I thought parts of those episodes could have had more engaging storytelling. But that all being said, this show is wildly entertaining, and it's actually surprisingly great. And I am so happy to say this. I'm so happy to say that. I was so happy to sit there at the end of Loki Season 2 and go, that finale delivered, and the show delivered overall. And so for that reason, I'm going to say that Loki Season 2, I'm going to say that it's an 8 out of 10. This show, yeah. I was about to say then that it restored my faith in Marvel. But it still hasn't. I'm still not going to watch any of the future Marvel Disney Plus shows unless I hear they're absolutely amazing. I'm still not going to check them out. And that's the same with the movies. Unless I hear that the next Marvel movie coming out is an absolute triumph and it's one of the best films of the year, it's just a really good film overall, I'm still not going to watch it. You know, I'm still not going to watch a Marvel film even if I hear it's good, because I'm just afraid I'll be disappointed. And the thing is, as I already said, the reason I watched Loki Season 2 is because I did enjoy Loki Season 1, and I heard a lot of great things about Season 2, and so that made me want to watch it. And I'm so happy that I did, because this show was wildly entertaining. It was well structured, it's well written, it's got a great explanation of all the characters. I loved episodes 5 and 6 of this season. Loved those episodes, because they actually gave you a really good story and some really compelling things that you're able to engage into. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how much I'm making sense right now, because as I'm recording this, I am operating on like 6 hours sleep. I didn't get enough sleep last night, so I don't know how this podcast has turned out today. But the point I'm making is, I enjoyed Loki Season 2 because it was a genuinely good TV show, whether you put the superhero stuff in it or whether you take it out. It's still a genuinely good TV show that I enjoyed far more than I expected to. And so, all in all, as what he said, I'm going to say Loki Season 2, I'm going to say that it's an 8 out of 10 from me. Anyway, guys, that is it for the podcast for today. So if you have seen Loki Season 2, please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. Maybe you hated it, and if you did, that's totally fair. Please let me know why in the comment section below. Or maybe you are in line with my thinking and you actually really enjoyed the show, and if so, let me know why in the comment section below as well. Whatever your thoughts are on Loki Season 2, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this podcast, and look forward to many more podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. As I already said, thank you guys for watching or listening to this podcast, and I suppose this is it. So I will see you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye!